Hey, good morning, America. It's your favorite show on Fridays, America's only father and son polling show, where we discuss what's going on behind the numbers in American politics and society today. And man, we've got a big week for you this week. We have some crazy numbers that are starting to shape up about, like, not just the ups and downs of Trump's numbers, but some of the polling landscape more broadly.
Right.
But let's go through the usual suspects. Let's start with the usual suspects, Andrew.
We're going to talk a little bit about some political ID stuff today, because there's more movement than we would normally expect to see. And now that does happen in election years. You do get movement in the way that respondents will tell you about their political identification. And remember, this is self ID, so this is not like how they vote for every election. So it's just what they say in a poll. So 47% of Americans are now identified as independents. It's a pretty strong trend that we're seeing of the two major parties not necessarily emptying out, but shrinking somewhat and giving way to independents. And more of those independents in that group call themselves Democrats as opposed to Republicans. And usually that comes down to they're asked a second question: if you were forced to choose between these two
had
parties.
to vote between one of the two. Right.
So it tells us that we have a growing sort of middle of the road political group that is more likely to identify with Democrats, which means chances are better that they will end up voting for Democrats in November. Now, this is not to say like that's Bible, but I want to take a look at this too. This is from the Washington Post. They found among, I think, 10,000 adults that Americans are divided into these 9 political groups. And for people watching, these are elastic. So if you were to ask this question last year or the year before, or next year, they would change by a few points here and there, maybe marginally, maybe a lot more. But we'll go through some of these in a minute. But the big groups here you can see are the order and opportunity left, which is sort of the middle of where we are. We've got faith first conservatives, the unconventional right. Those are sort of like, evangelicals, and then you have young men on the other side.
No apologies. That's what I call the Twitter right.
Right. Yeah, that's sort of that. I think most of MAGA would probably fall in the no apologies right.
Yeah.
The pragmatic and polite right is the part of the party that has been
Lincoln Project targets.
That's the sort of older, more traditional Republican Party that you were used to from 1980 up until 2016. It's a shrinking group, and then you can see the loyal liberals are about the same size, and leftward progressives are the smallest group on this list. Smallest, and I would say very loud.
And you know what, Andrew? I think that really says something that the leftward progressives, that's the Bernie AOC wing, and the no apologies right is the hardcore MAGA wing. Somebody asked about what the unconventionals are. Would you say that's like the Tucker space of the party, the younger men?
Yeah, Tucker, RFK. I think that
Joe Rogan.
Right. Yeah. Sort of the non-faith based right. The sort of not like they're not ideological like William F. Buckley type right wingers. They're really more new right, new and born out of that Joe Rogan media ecosystem in some respects.
Yeah, I think that's right, and I think this kind of typology is helpful. Well, I was just going to say that on the next slide, it shows you, like, you guys can see a lot of the sort of public landscape in how these people break out, and you can see there are big divergences.
There are big divergences, and you can see where the wedge issues are. So look at that third one. They were asked if abortion should be legal in all or most cases. Large parts of the right, the pragmatic and polite right, the unconventional right, and the U.S. overall are saying that more than 50% are saying that abortion should be legal in all or most cases. And then you have the rest of them, no apologies, and the faith first conservatives who are much more strongly opposed. So that becomes a wedge issue. And that was a major wedge issue in 22, if you'll remember. That was one of the issue overrides that sort of staunched the red wave that was happening. So it became a wedge issue, and it was useful for Democrats, and you can see some of these other ones too.
I'm fascinated by the U.S. overall number on the last tab there about the federal government's responsibility to provide health insurance.
Yeah,
that's kind of a big number. I haven't seen that number in the overall in a very long time. And the
low 60s.
The irony here is the MAGAs in that no apologies right and in the faith first conservatives, statistically, folks, they are more likely to use Medicare, Medicaid, disability, Social Security than you would think from their pull yourself up by your bootstraps rhetoric.
Right. Yeah. It's one of those things that sort of for MAGAs, they when you phrase a question like this, the federal government has a responsibility. I think that is maybe what sets them off. They feel like when you say something like that, it's giving away your tax money and taxing you more.
Yeah,
that's their belief. I think what's really interesting and sort of scary is that second to last one, to say the legacy of slavery continues to affect the position of Black people. A lot of Republicans are saying no. Most of the country is saying yes. That's sort of
that has become a real indicator of the no apologies right and the unconventional right. There's a Tucker overlay in that, and there's a lot of those people are buying the whole like white replacement theory and the immigration stuff ties into that because race is a thing. It's our original sin.
These are the key divides on the left. I want to look at crime, which is the second one there. Say crime is a very big problem. You have most of these, the order and opportunity left and the left out left. They're sort of in that 50%-ish range who say crime is a serious problem. I think it's difficult that it's sort of gone, not necessarily gone unacknowledged by the far left and progressives, but that is a wedge issue that Republicans use just the same way that Democrats used abortion in 2022. And you can see I don't know necessarily because we don't have the exact figures here, but it looks to me like the left has some slightly larger ideological divides on these key issues.
I mean, just facially, it looks like that.
And these are the things that become wedge issues. So this is what's important to look at. So if you look here, the second one to the bottom, this is sort of telling you about that socialist capitalist divide that you sort of have in the Democratic Party that's sort of breaking out in our primary elections. So roughly, I would say 20-ish% of those leftward progressives say they have a great deal or a fair amount of control over how successful they are. And then you look farther to the right, and you have more of those loyal liberals and
it's funny because that cluster around, which is in let's call it the 60s, mid to high 60s there, comprises probably 3/4 of the Democratic cohort. 2/3, let's call it. Of the Democratic cohort. Interesting.
And that's why the socialist label can help you in really progressive urban areas, but can be used as a cudgel in somewhere like Wisconsin, for example.
Where we have swing seats, everybody.
Yes, lots of swing seats. Independents outnumbered both parties. So this is what I've been talking about. We have that middle cohort of Americans, independents, at a new high. This is from CNN SSRS, and it's not that these parties are disappearing. The Democratic and Republican Party are going to be here for a very, very long time. But I think this is a product of really powerful disillusionment with leadership on both sides.
Absolutely.
Most Democratic voters are furious still with the leadership. And 100%. Of course, Republicans do not, MAGA Republicans only care about Trump. The rest of the party is furious with the party. It's and so that feeds into them, identifying as independents.
I think that we've had this the use case of American politics forever has been two dominant political parties, and it felt that way forever. And I think there's a really important lesson for Americans to look at. I know most people are not British politics nerds, but guys, until 2 years ago, there were still the Tories and Labour were still the dominant forces in the UK. There were other parties, Reform, the Greens, the Lib Dems. They are called the Lib Dems. I'm not being facetious, folks. And now you've got Restore UK, you've got the SNP, you've got this emergent portfolio. The Tories, the Conservative Party in Great Britain is now the fourth largest party in the country. And Labour is in power right now, but it is under very stiff challenge from Reform and from this new Restore UK party. Reform was the largest Conservative party, but this Restore UK party is now coming up and eating out of Reform's base. We could slip into a multi-party system in this country faster than I think most people anticipate. There's already a functional version of that. There's the Progressive Party in the Democrats with the Bernie AOC squad wing of the party.
Yeah.
There's the MAGA party, which is the vast majority of the GOP, but there's also a smaller conservative rump, that's still Republican and not MAGA. It's tiny, but what you're seeing is the future, folks, might look more like Israeli politics, which has got how many? We did that analysis that time for that race over there. It was like there's like
I don't know,
47 parties, and some of them have like
there's a lot.
3 members of parliament,
right? But I mean, small parties can still wield some power, especially in a system that allows for a multi-party, legislatures. But yeah, I mean, I can see it happening if it only takes a credible, well-funded organization to put up a party. And you could those would fill in from the independents, from the Democratic Party, and then on the other side they would fill in from the independents and Republicans,
right?
So it wouldn't surprise me if these parties continue to thin out somewhat, but you won't see majorities of MAGA in the House. You won't see majorities of progressive Democrats in the House. You'll see they'll caucus together on some issues and not on others, but it's very possible. And considering what's happening, you look at what Trump has done in these Republican primary elections, and Feenstra's election comes to mind. His opponent is not necessarily an out-and-out MAGA loyalist. He's more of the RFK wing, more of Maha type. And it's a sort of emerging fracture that we've been watching for a long time. And
there's Jane.
The RFK version of the Republican Party, I know he's not a Republican, for whatever that's worth. It is a totally different beast, and it probably deserves a different name. And those are the kinds of little parties that might pop up if we did sort of burst into a multi-party system.
I also think it's important for people to remember this polling we're seeing about independence is also backed up by a really important set of statistics that we're seeing that are empirical, and that is registration in the states. In Florida, the largest political party is no party at all.
Right.
The NPAs are by far the fastest growing and the largest. The largest.
We also have there's a pretty strong effect, I think, coming from people who are just now newly registered voters, and that's usually young people. The vast majority of them will be young people, and those newly registered voters, if you look at 18 to 44 men and women, they are extraordinarily turned off by both parties, more so than other demographic breakouts.
Oh, completely.
So as 18-year-olds are registering to vote, they're I think probably significantly more likely to be registering no party affiliation.
Yeah, and there are some structural things, folks, that will have to change eventually. look, right now we have closed primaries in most states. I'm not a fan of the jungle primary system. I don't personally like it, but there are a lot of things that, just being non-party affiliated or registering as an independent does not mean you are in a political party. In a lot of places, the deck is stacked because it'll say, must be a member of a party.
Right.
And so there's some problematic things. And on the national level, most states have state rules in their party structure where they can't support an independent for president if you're a Republican delegate to the Electoral College. There's a lot of complexities. An independent, someone asked the question, it's a really good one. I get asked this question a lot. Could an independent win the presidency? We have come close. We have seen that daylight a couple of times. It is incredibly difficult to do.
Yeah.
Especially now in this era of unbelievably deep political division and polarization. It's going to be very hard for an independent to go to, if an independent won a Republican state, there's a really high likelihood now the Republicans will go, yeah, fuck you, I'm putting Don Jr. on the ballot instead.
Right. And it's the thing about that question, what I think of when somebody asks if could an independent win a presidential election, my immediate reaction is you don't start with a presidential election if you are trying to build a party. And these little parties will start by winning local elections. They'll, sheriff, dog catcher, every little election.
Go in Florida, folks. There's something called the Mosquito Control Board in many counties. Nobody runs for it. Nobody knows about it. Someday I'm going to run for either the Mosquito Control Board or the Soil and Water Conservation District Board, just so I can hold an elected office once in my life.
Right. And that'll be the sign of a robust independent party is if they start sucking up these little local elections.
Yeah.
And that'll be the first indicator that a real competitor with the two major parties that we've had for so long is emerging. So we got a question here. So why are there so few politicians who identify as independents? It's not that there are not independent politicians in both parties who identify that way. This is about money, y'all. You're not going to get money from the Democratic or Republican party apparatuses if you are saying you're not part of that party. These people need the money to run their campaigns, to run ads, to sustain themselves.
No Buck Rogers, as Tom Wolfe once said.
Yeah, exactly. And then that the other sign that a robust independent party is emerging is that it is fundraising well. So if you see a party winning local elections and winning these down ballot elections that has a steady flow of fundraising, that's the real deal. Until then.
DMAC, I hate ranked choice voting and I hate jungle primaries.
Why do you hate ranked choice voting? I think that's a poor take, but for jungle primary, I agree with you. I agree with you on jungle primary. I don't like that because that becomes a game where, and we haven't necessarily seen it in California, but the specter.
I don't think people have the bandwidth to make the acute decisions about ranked choice voting that people who created ranked choice voting think they are.
Right. And it's very political science to me. Like, it's
if you did open primaries, you essentially get the effect of ranked choice voting to be able to disrupt the other guy's primary. But part of the predicate of ranked choice voting is, I'm going to put the least electable Republican as my second choice. I don't think it works that way. Voter behavior is not that Baroque.
No, but you can skip them. You can just put 1 and 2 on most of these ballots, I think. But some, that is an interesting question that states will have to figure out. The jungle primary spooks me because it becomes a scary game where you could have two Republicans running against each other.
Let's be real, folks. We dodged a bullet in California.
Yeah,
with that jungle primary, we dodged a bullet.
Yeah,
and when Swalwell got DQ'd by his own behavior, we'll just leave that aside for the moment. When he got DQ'd, there was a long period of time where Steve Hilton, the Republican, was in first place, and Chad Bianco, the other Republican, was in second place. And Tom Steyer the guy who talks to birds and shit, was in third place, and Javier Becerra, who now is the nominee for the Democrats, was in fourth place. There was a moment where, and I was out there a couple times in the last couple of months, there was a moment where people were very scared we were going to end up with Steve Hilton and Chad Bianco at the top of the ticket, which I can tell you, it would not be the apocalypse some people think it would, but it would be a national narrative thing that would blow up all kinds of Democratic motivation in this election. So we're very lucky. I still believe that parties are a way that humans have a cognitive shorthand for what the candidates stand for. But
yeah.
There was a question about why do we need the Electoral College? It's in the Constitution.
Yeah,
you're not going to get
until such time as we have a constitutional amendment removing.
Right. If you want to try for a constitutional amendment to get rid of it, God bless you, knock yourself out. Constitutional amendments are the single hardest fucking thing in the universe to accomplish. And all the states that are like in the National Voter Compact, that's going to get tested and it's going to get thrown out.
Yep.
And by the way, a liberal Supreme Court would throw it out too, because the Electoral College system is wired into the Constitution. And look, guys, think about this. Democrats hate the Electoral College right now because of Florida and Texas. What happens when you flip one of those states?
Could happen.
All of a sudden, the Electoral College is your friend.
And, you know, these red states that we've had as red states, I think since, you know, you call it maybe 2014. These are, you know, Florida is one of those states that has a huge delegation of Republicans that go to Washington. You know, so, but here's the thing. These people are now terrified that Trump is destroying them. And he's dragging them down. And
they should be terrified.
Yeah. So this is from PBS NPR Marist poll. 59% underwater on job approval. And I think what's interesting here is I think the unsure number tends to keep shrinking. Fewer and fewer people are sort of staying on the fence. And 36% approval. Months ago, we were saying, oh, if he drops down to the mid-30s, it's doom, hellfire. And that's what we've got now. And now I'm thinking, like, if he drops into the mid-20s, I'm like, wow, that would be really bad. But Republicans should be terrified that he's dragging them down. So this is 6 in 10 reject Trump's economy. Now, if you went to your nearest grocery store and asked 10 people if they to agree on what the best cereal is, you'll get 10 different answers. But 6 in 10 people are saying,
and again, you know one thing in the cohort here. This is national adults. If this was likely voters, it would be a worse number,
significantly worse.
Likely voters are much more skeptical across the board as opposed to just national adults. And folks, as we get close to the election, we'll self-select for likely voter polls rather than national polls.
Yeah. And more of these horse race polls will be likely voters as we move forward. I don't know if we have any horse race today, but I do want to talk about a couple of elections.
Yeah, let's do that.
But first, gas prices. You know, all week you've been hearing about the deal, about, you know, how, you know, the strait is going to be reopened and oil is going to start flowing again and oil is going to go down. You've been hearing that from the Trump administration.
Just so everybody knows, before we went on the air today, Iran announced they've closed the straits again because Israel is still bombing Lebanon.
Close the straits. We're back to where we were. And you know, there's the element of issue override with most voters is so strong, especially with gas in the economy, that you can't overcome it, especially if the war continues. This is just the sort of the bleeding gash that's you know, the Republican Party is sort of bleeding out on this issue, and there's no reversal in sight.
So Trump says we're going to negotiate for 60 days over Iran's nukes. Iran knows where the electoral calendar stands in America, folks, and they know they should try to break Trump by delaying and delaying and delaying. and by not letting him get the victory lap he desperately wants. It's not stupid.
No, it's not stupid. It's an effective strategy. All they have to do is wait. This is, the sort of siege mentality that they have is all that they need to continue to do. And Trump I feel like he can't abide by, he has no patience. So
no, he has no patience. He is not mentally structured at this point to lay out a strategy because his attention span is so unbelievably short.
But he also can't tolerate the length of the negotiations. So he's going to throw gas on the fire. And of course, Pete Hegseth is a bloodthirsty monster. So they have no way to turn down the faucet here. And this is going to be the worst issue for Republicans. So
yeah.
Wow. So they got the Gulf of America. That's tough. That's brutal. So I don't know if we got I wanted to talk about this, and I don't know if we got these numbers in any of the slides, but YouGov this week did a few questions about, I believe it was surrounding the 250th.
Right.
But one of the questions was, how proud are you to be an American? And I'm just going to read off some of these right now.
We have that slide. We got that slide.
Do we have that?
It's in the deck. Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Perfect. So Harris voters, only 19% say they're very proud. MAGA supporters are, what is that? 81%. I'm actually looking at the graph on the side here.
It's because they have a song, Andrew.
Well, it's because they have a song, but also I feel like this is sort of problematic. I understand the hesitation to say that you're very proud to be an American because of a lot of things that have happened. But being an American is not about politics. And I have this sort of sneaking suspicion that among a lot of these Democrats and Harris 2024 voters, this pride issue is political, where it should not be. And that sort of bleeds up to the top of the party where it's...
I suspect this is elastic too, don't you?
I'm sure this is elastic. This is a very elastic issue because if we had a Democrat in office, you'd probably see a much higher number of Democrats and Harris 2024 voters saying that they were proud to be an American, and a smaller number of MAGA Republicans. But I still think Republicans and MAGAs might score higher on this. I just sort of find it disturbing, because I think one of the most effective strategies with independents that Democrats should really be leaning on, and not just independents, people who care about democracy, people who care about their country and their community and their family, hug the flag, go for the flag, be
They
proud.
don't own the flag.
They don't own the flag, and they shouldn't own the flag, and they arrogantly believe that they do. And if we snatch that out from under them, it's the end of MAGA's power in America. And I am both worried and excited to see what, a lot of these Democratic candidates are going to be doing on the 250th. I think it's a really important opportunity for Democrats who are currently in office and are of hopefuls, to go out there and demonstrate some of that pride, because I think that will draw in a lot of people, more people than they expect. And, it might piss off the far left. I'm going to be honest. That's what they're not big fans of America in many ways. But they're only 7% of the country, according to that Washington Post.
Well, and look, the point I always make, and the point our founders understood, they understood that we were building a fundamental set of flaws into the system in order to pull together 13 colonies in a war against the global superpower of the era. It was going to be imperfect. We were going to face terrible consequences from the question of slavery, and we did. But the idea of America, the propositional idea of America, as we've gone forward 250 years, is, sometimes we take a 2 steps forward and 1 step back. Sometimes we don't get there the way we should. We would love to think that we could get there easily and everybody's working together, but we do eventually move the ball down the field.
Yeah.
And politically, I can tell you this, folks, from when I was a Republican, one of the ways we converted huge areas that were Democratic strongholds, that I worked in places like Florida and North Carolina and Georgia, where we took your Democratic voters from rural areas. You know why we took them? Because you let us. You let us because we were able to say to them, they don't love America. They spit on the flag. They're not patriotic. They hate the fact that you believe in God, even though you're a good Democrat. They hate the fact that you own a gun, even though you're a good Democrat. We took those people away on the most shallow, superficial horseshit you can imagine. We lied to them and said we were better about those things.
Yeah.
It's insane that you let us do that when we were Republicans back in the day. So the advice here is tough love, but even tough love is love. So
Yep. Well, I guess we're over time here.
Constant drowsiness, your point. How does someone want to radically expand the government while simultaneously not believing in government and the nation? This is the secret of the Republicans. All of this shit about small government is just branding. They believe in a powerful central authoritarian government that can control every aspect of your life.
Yeah. It's panopticon. That is an interesting question, but I was gonna talk about a couple of elections, and we talked last week.
Yeah, bring them up. We got time.
We talked last week about some surprise elections, and I wanted to bring people's attention to a handful of ones that I've been looking at as potential surprises.
Yeah, go. I love this.
So the first one, and I think this is going to be obvious to some people, is that Plattner-Collins race. They are going to keep pulling out Oppo on him. They're going to keep it up at a huge pace. I think he's going to win. I think he's going to...
Listen, I don't think the argument from Collins, he was bad when he was a Marine and a young man, is going to work.
Yeah. I watched Generation Kill. Marines are crass.
Man, what a great book and what a great series.
Yeah, it truly was. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. But the next one on my list here, I am feeling good about is Ohio, the Ohio Senate race. I think we have the elements that brought down Brown previously, I think are not present. This is a different environment.
Well, he also completely shook up his campaign team.
Yes,
by the way, and I just want to say fuck you, Izzy. But that's we'll leave that on the deck for another time. They were not good,
right? Yeah,
their campaign team was smug the last time, and Brown is running a race that is progressive in its economic message to distressed Ohio voters, but vibes more culturally conservative. He is a progressive, but he's not a hair on fire. People, sees the means of production guy.
Right.
He's messaging, I think, very well in Ohio. And I think, I think Brown's going to do well. I think Acton's going to do well. I mean, Ramaswamy is just unlikable.
No,
he's not a likable candidate.
He is not. He seems very...
Sherrod Brown, Evelyn, is the U.S. Senate candidate. He's a returning player. He's also got a huge name ID.
He does, massive name ID.
Which is a big deal.
That is a big deal. And you look at the polling in that race, and there's a huge convergence between the Democratic and Republican commissioned polls, something like 8 points divergence. So it's hard to say what the polling says about that race necessarily, but in 2024, this is a Trump +6 state.
Yeah.
Now look at Trump's approval rating in Ohio. I don't know what Morning Consult says it is right now, but I guarantee you it's underwater. I saw it
was like 14 under.
Yeah. So
something like that.
So Husted is not going to be able to ride on Trump approval to secure this seat. The last one I think we should talk about today is that Iowa Senate seat.
I'm telling you, people.
This is I think tariffs and the soybean industry in Iowa, I think that is sort of the thing that is going to kill Republicans' hopes for these seats.
Turek and Sand both are in a different position.
Yes.
Listen, It's not just Iowa, though, Andrew. Nebraska, look, I know it's a long shot.
Nebraska.
It's not as long as people think.
There's a 1 point difference in the polls right now in a solid R state. Like Nebraska is deep red, but the poll is a 1 point difference in that.
But I mean, in Iowa, you've got a governor's race, a senator's race, and 3 congressional seats in play that should not be in play, folks.
No.
Somebody asked about Florida. Recent polling has both Vindman and Jolly ahead of Donalds. Vindman in the zone, inside the margin with Moody. Moody has one new poll out today, but it's from a really conservative economic group in Florida, showing her +7. I'll believe it when I see it. But Florida is a high hill. It is a tough race. I will tell you guys, of the candidates nationally that are breaking the rules of the old Democratic way, Tallarico, Sand, and Jolly are 3 to keep your eye on right now, because they are running races. They're all about affordability in the economy. They're all about ending the corruption that's hurting working class voters and middle class voters. And they're doing it with a smile on their face.
Yeah.
They're not running these mopey fucking campaigns. And they're not out there going, everything is bad. I'm Eeyore and it sucks. It'll suck more when I'm there, but it's going to suck anyway. No, they're like, we can change this, folks.
We can change it. Yeah.
We can do this. So, and Ossoff. I meant to say Ossoff.
Yes.
My bad.
Well, I will not be surprised when Ossoff wins.
I think Ossoff could mount a double-digit win.
Yeah.
I'm
very confident. I think I think maybe next week we'll talk about some more specific elections that are coming up, but because we are starting to get
West. The problem Radio Free West is if you get rid of the Blue Dogs in your coalition, you're going to lose every single time, everywhere, all the time.
Yep.
You don't build a coalition by subtraction. You build a coalition by addition. It's called the base plus rule. It's the reason Republicans won national elections from Reagan on, from Nixon. Actually, Nixon was one of the origin stories of the base plus rule, where you get your base and you add to it.
Yeah.
If you subtract people from your base, I promise you will lose. You'll
lose.
If purity means more to you than victory, then you're going to get purity and not victory.
And you'll lose these swing elections that we're looking at, that we were just talking about, like those agriculture heavy areas in the Midwest, Iowa, Ohio, Wisconsin. Those are the places where there are a lot of these blue dog Democrats. You'll lose those races we were just talking about in Florida, in Georgia, in Texas. Those are places where there are a lot of people who are open to that blue dog messaging.
Yep.
And
you think Tallarico can win without conservative Democrats?
Sure can't.
That ain't gonna happen.
Nope. But he's making an appeal to conservative Democrats.
He sure is.
He's doing a great job at it. So
he's killing it. He's crushing it. So, well, guys, we are 40 minutes into the show today. We love doing this every Friday. We'll be back again next Friday.
It's a real picture, they say.
Yeah, it's not AI. That's
caught in the wild.
So real quick, folks, you can catch me also on the Lincoln Project podcast. You can catch me on Tuesday nights on the strategy session, on Thursday nights on the breakdown, every Friday here with Andrew on Behind the Numbers. You can also catch me later today with Elephant in the Room. And on Saturdays, the Weekend R&R. We don't know where this fucking show came from. We did it live randomly, and now people are like, when are you coming on again? So that's just me and Renee talking shit in the kitchen and cooking. So we love you guys. A team algae. I'm all in for the algae. But have a great weekend. Thanks, Andrew. Love you, son. We will talk to you guys again next week.